Hello students, this video is to prepare you for quiz 9.06. Please be prepared to copy everything you see on the screen and to pause this video as needed. We're going to start with some vocabulary, so please write 9.06 vocabulary at the top of your paper. And this section is about proportions. And proportions are just two fractions equal to each other. So here's an example of a proportion. 1 over x equal to 3 over 5. It's a proportion. Why? Because you have a fraction, 1 over x, equal to another fraction, 3/5. Anytime you have a fraction equal to a fraction, that's called a proportion. So please write down this definition. A proportion is an equation with two fractions, also known as ratios. Ratios are also fractions, and they're equal to each other. Ratio is another vocabulary word I would like you to copy down. A ratio is the relationship between two numbers, often written as a fraction. So for example, there are twice as many girls as boys. If you want to write this as a ratio of girls to boys, you would go 2 over 1. If you wanted to write it a ratio of boys to girls, you would switch it around and you'd put 1 over 2. So because we want the girls first, ratio of girls to boys, that's why it's the girl number, which is twice. That number goes on top, the 2 over 1. Let's practice some problems. Please copy this down. Question number 1. Write each rate as a unit rate. So please write this down. For A, there's going to be 3 parts. The first part is A, $100 per 2 days. So the instructions were to write it as a unit. So instead of the 2 on the bottom, they want you to make it a 1 on the bottom. They want to know per day. If you make $100 in 2 days, how much are you making in 1 day? So that's what they mean by 1 unit. So all you do is you just divide it. If you have a calculator, feel free to just push 100 divided by 2 and you get your answer. The answer is 50. And you keep the units the same. Since we're talking about money, put the money sign on top, $50. We're talking about days, so put days on the bottom. If you make $100 in 2 days, then that means you make $50 in 1 day. So you write it as 50 over days. B, please write this down. Let's say you're traveling and you're going 480 miles in 8 hours. What they want to know is the unit of that. How far do you go? How many miles do you go? How many miles do you go in 1 hour? I don't want 8 hours. I want 1 hour. So you do the same thing. It's very repetitive. Okay, so it's the same steps. You get your calculator and you push 480 and then you push divided by and then you push 8 and it will give you 60. So you leave it as a fraction again and the units, so it's 60 miles and then you put an hour on the bottom. Okay, so you're going 60 miles per every hour. C. Let's say you have a recipe and you need 3 cups of something like flour for 2 cakes. Okay, so what they want to know is how many cups you need for 1 cake. Okay, 1 unit. So what you do again is you get your calculator and you get 3 and you divide it by 2 and it'll tell you how many cups you need for 1 cake. So the answer is 1.5 and you keep the cups on top and you keep the cake unit on the bottom. You need 1.5 cups per cake. Question number 2. Ali has saved $300 in 6 months. Sorry, I misspelled months there. Express her rate of savings as a unit rate. So again, you're doing the same thing. You need to just set it up with the $300 on top and then the 6 months on the bottom. And then we're going to divide it the way we were doing earlier. Okay, so there it is, $300 on top, 6 months on the bottom. And they want to know how much she makes how much she saves every month. Not 6 months, but 1 month, every month. And so once you divide that on your calculator, you get a 50. So it's $50 over the month. The units on the bottom is month. And then if you want to write the answer in a nice little sentence, you would write down Allie saves at a rate of $50 per month. Question number 3. A model speedboat is 7.5 inches long. So that's like a little pretend speedboat. The real boat is 27 feet long. What is the unit rate that describes the relationship of the real speedboat to the model speedboat? So the order that they say this is important, okay? So they want you to talk about the real speedboat first and then the model speedboat on the bottom. So the real speedboat is 27. I'm going to go ahead and write on this. The real speedboat is 27, so that's why we put the 27 on top. And it's in feet, so we have to put feet on the top. There's the feet. And then the model, because the model one goes last, see the instructions here, model speedboat is last, that means it goes on the bottom. And it's 7.5, so we put 7.5 on the bottom. And the unit is in inches, so we put inches on the bottom. Now I want to know how many feet it is per inch. So I'm going to divide this the way we've been doing. On your calculator, please push 27 divided by 7.5. And you get the answer as 3.6. And you keep the units, feet on the top and an inch on the bottom. Number 4. If 12 servings can be made from 3 cans of beans, how many cans of beans are needed for each serving? I just went ahead and put the answer here, but I'll go ahead and explain it to you. So on the last sentence, they're telling you the order that they want things. It says how many cans of beans are needed for each serving. So the beans has to go on top and the servings has to go on the bottom. Okay, so there was 3 cans of beans and then they were able to give you 12 servings. You divide that up, 3 divided by 12 on the calculator, it gives you 0.25, and then you keep the units, cans on top and serving on the bottom. So a quarter of a can gives you 1 serving. Number 5, if you use 2 eggs for a cake and you use 24 eggs, how many cakes did you bake? You could probably do this in your head, but I'm going to go ahead and set it up as a little math problem. So what you do is you take the first piece of information. You use 2 eggs per cake. So that's why we have this first part, 2 eggs per cake. And then the second part of information says you use 24 eggs. So there's the 24. Oh, I'm sorry, I see a typo here. It's supposed to say eggs. 24 eggs. Okay. And then on the bottom, we don't know how many cakes that is, so we put an N standing for the number of cakes. And once you have this set up and you understand how to come up with that first part using the information they gave you, then you can solve for N, kind of like solving for X. And here's how you do it. You crisscross multiply. So you always go diagonal. So the top number crosses over to the bottom number here, and you multiply these two. 2 times N is 2N. Okay, so here we have our 2N. $600. So take a look at the work here and use the formula is over of equals percent over 100. Is 20. Of is 50, because the word problem tells you. And it equals percent over 100. So you're going to crisscross that. 20 times 100 is 2,000. And then 50 times x is 50x. X wants to be alone, so you need to divide by 50. Do that to both sides. And the answer will be 40. Please go back and try quiz 9.06. Now that you have these notes in front of you, hopefully you will do better on that quiz. Thank you.